It being 6:06 p.m., I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Planning Commission. Please rise your pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, liberty and justice for all. Let's just do a quick round of introductions, starting with the most senior and wonderful among us, Commissioner Stewart.
Stewart.
Wayne Wright, Planning Commissioner.
Louis Todd, Planning Commissioner.
Joe Morrison, Planning Commissioner. And online, do we have anybody, folks?
We have no one attending online.
No one is attending online except for directly comment. Okay, so there will be no audience comments. If no one is online, no one's in chambers. That works for everybody. We will then move into the approval of the minutes. We do have a quorum, so we're going to approve the minutes. Let's take a look through them. Does anybody have any? Go ahead. Well, that's true. So a couple options. We can still approve the minutes and you can abstain, or we can kick it down the road until the next meeting. I don't think there's an abundant reason to do that. I don't have any changes to the minutes. Other commissioners?
No changes.
Okay. We do have a quorum, so we can take the vote. We need a motion to approve in a second.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right, one abstention. Sounds good. Moving into item number 5A, elect chair and vice chair. I would like to take prerogative as the person sharing this meeting today to put this on the agenda for the April meeting when we have more of our commissioners here. If that's all right, you guys want to discuss this a little bit?
In April, I'll be online.
Okay. But you can still hear us. Okay. Good. I plan to be online too, Commissioner Wright. I firmly believe in the power of online participation. Commissioner Stewart, are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
All right, we will move item 5A to the April agenda, please. That being the case, we will move into 5B, the 2024 Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update, and we have a presentation coming our way. Jim, you want to take us through it?
Sure. Good evening, Jim Fisk, Principal Planner for the City of Port Richard. Tonight, I'm pleased to introduce the city's consultant for work on the comprehensive plan periodic update, Mr. Alex Campbell. Alex will provide an overview of the transportation element, parks and recreation element, and the natural systems element of the 2024 comprehensive plan. Tonight, we seek your input on these draft elements delivered to you last week to ensure final draft is scheduled for delivery by June 24. Parks and Rec element outlines the city's approach to enhance and sustain parks and recreation facilities, addressing the needs of a growing population and serving as a guiding document for achieving the city's goals. The natural systems element emphasizes Port Richard's dedication to preserving natural assets, guiding the dominant harmony with the environment. The transportation element, sorry, there's a background. The transportation element outlines future system improvements, emphasizing non-motorized options, pedestrian cyclists, and transit users to reduce automobile dependence, road widening, promoting a safe, dependable environment, responsible and physically sustainable multimodal transportation system. Comments tonight or in writing until March 26th are important. We envision collecting and refining the comments, incorporating them to the final drafts, which will then be presented to the Planning Commission, likely at the June Planning Commission meeting. Planning Commission's input may be incorporated in the final drafts based on applicability. A review of the draft elements ensures consistency with future sound. Regional coordinating councils checklist and adherence to population employment targets outlined in Vision 2050. No immediate action is needed tonight, but we have some good comments about the 26th, facilitating the time of delivery of final drafts. Now I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Campbell, who will guide us through the process and seek your guidance on the water points raised. Alex.
Great, thank you, Jim, for the introduction. Great to see everybody in person for a change. I think Jim gave a great overview of the content of this element delivery. So we have 3 more chapters in the comprehensive plan for you guys to take a look at, and give some feedback on. Any preliminary guidance from the planning commission's perspective will help both city staff and the consultant team make sure that any priorities or major items are incorporated into the refined drafts and this first draft stage. The documents that you have before you, the 3 elements before you today, Jim mentioned are kind of in line with our comprehensive plan update scope of a light refresh. Primarily what we want to do is make sure that we're incorporating new legislation down from GMA, Growth Management Act, and any new requirements from there, primarily from the Department of Commerce, PSRC's Vision 2050, and KidSat County's countywide regional planning policies. Those 3 items are our large framework for the comprehensive plan update. With that being said, there is some flexibility outside of those regulatory means to incorporate local priorities and preferences. And I think the Planning Commission is uniquely positioned to give feedback in that regard. With that respect, that was our approach for each of the 3 elements, providing some new policy language that incorporates the 3 regulatory kind of major framework items to incorporate in this update, and that's reflected in the drafts that you guys see before you tonight. There is a lot more content in these 3 elements than the 3 elements that we delivered at the last Planning Commission phase. So just kind of a forewarning, if you haven't had a chance to dig in quite yet, there is a large volume of content, and our hope is that if you guys have any questions after reviewing it, feel free to reach out to city staff, and we can get any questions answered and hopefully get you guys pointed in the right direction. With that being said, I will have any questions and or feedback on the elements as you guys have had the chance to review them so far.
Well, thanks, Alex. There's it's a lot of content, as you point out, and some interesting updates and changes to it as well. So any of the commissioners have anything at this moment, recognizing that we got this a week ago, that's fine. But is there anything top of mind for our commissioners that you'd like to discuss at this present time? Maybe take some time to dig into it a little bit. Did you get through it?
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Wright kind of gets the gold star up here amongst the 4 of us.
Well, I did this professionally for 20 years, so I got through most of it, and I've got quite a bit of comments I want to share with staff and make sure I'm on sort of my track.
Okay.
I will tell you that a couple of things that are of concern, or at least in my wheelhouse, that's of concern based on the constituency of the Public Woods. And a couple of things is the transportation element.
Okay.
There's a feeling that I've talked to the community out there, that walking and biking for 60-year-olds like most of us that are retired out there or working out there is just not really likely going to happen down into downtown. And it rains a lot in Port Orchard, Western Washington, so to be emphasizing walking and biking in an area that rains as much as it does, with a population that's retired or semi-retired, it's kind of a pie in the sky kind of thing to go after. I think the emphasis on some of that needs to be toned down. That's one of the things that came up. I constantly go through these documents, all these chapters, with a bit of a filter of what have we done? Why is it still here? Is it necessary? Trying to turn it back to get some of the clutter out of the documents. So if there's a long-standing policy that has been achieved or a goal that has been made, I'd like to see it removed or edited to the point where it reflects current conditions. There's I'm really confused by the way equity is bounced around in the document with respect to populations and communities, and it reads almost like we're trying to segregate or almost discriminate between communities the way it's written. And I'd rather it be written in a way where we're inclusive of everybody, all opportunities are open to everybody, rather than focusing on some underrepresented community that frankly, I can't define who that is in Port Orchard. That's just, I've grown up here since '85, I'm an old man now, but I just don't see that focus fitting here very well. So the other filter that I go through here, I promised myself I wasn't going to talk about much. The other filter that I go through is I want to make it Port Orchard's plan, not PSRC's plan, not Jay Inslee's plan, our plan. And a small town that has an urban downtown, there's comments in here that we're growing or developing. I'm not seeing that either. I'm not sure some of these comments are accurate as to what's happening in Port Orchard. We have certain redevelopment, I agree, but I just want to make sure that it's matter of fact. So you'll get my comments. I've gone through parks, and I'm through natural resources, and I'm into transportation now. But that's kind of the general gist of where I'm coming from with my comments. It's not that it's wrong or right. I just want to make sure that it makes good sense to everybody that reads it, and it reflects Port Orchard. I just don't want to just, what do you call it, a refresh light or whatever, by just reusing everything we had. I guess I'm going to challenge you to make it better. Not just the same old stuff, but make it better. Get rid of the old stuff, bring in the good stuff. Awesome.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Other commissioners have comments?
Oh, I have one. I have some more granular feedback, if that's okay, Alex. Thank you so much for sending this over, by the way. It's really thorough. One call out I want to do first is on chapter 8.53, so then the transportation section. You don't have to go to it, but we introduced and talked about the GMA. I'm going to assume that the average citizen who reads this comp plan, obviously that's not our main audience, but probably wouldn't know what the GMA is, but this is really important and the reason why we are comp planning. So I think there's an opportunity here to introduce this, not necessarily in chapter 8, but earlier on, question mark. I'm just also kind of confused on why it was introduced in this section in particular and why is it even there.
Yeah, happy to speak to that a little bit. GMA does have a specific framework through the lens of transportation for comprehensive planning, items that we need to essentially check through regulatory process. And that's why I think the GMA introduction is there, almost a refresher. It is a light touch on that, primarily because GMA is going to be introduced and really well defined in the context of the comprehensive plan update towards the front end of the document. And I think that's some of the challenge in looking at some of the elements individually is it's really easy to kind of take the blinders effect of everything transportation. The final product that we're going to produce, all the elements need to speak to one another, be consistent with one another. And I think when you see acronyms like GMA, they will be fleshed out beforehand with more regulatory context. And I think for the transportation element, we just want to kind of reinforce this is our framework for updating the plan. This is really why we're updating the plans, GMA requirements, frankly. I think it allows Port Orchard to fine tune it locally. But that's kind of the manipulation.
Gotcha, yeah, that makes sense, perfect. And then for all our other comments, where do we submit them? Sorry, that logistical question.
You can email your comments directly.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Director Bond has his hand raised.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Director Bond.
Yeah, I just wanted to add too that in 2016, when we wrote the transportation element, Public Works had hired their own consultant to prepare that. And so I think the fact that that background information was in there was because they were sort of working in a vacuum, and then we had to integrate their transportation plan into our comprehensive plan. So I think it's a fair point that we probably don't need to restate GMA requirements in the transportation element. You're right. It should either be moved up or potentially eliminated if it doesn't add to, or if it's redundant to something that's in the introduction chapter.
Thank you, Director Bond. Commissioner Stewart, anything on your mind?
No.
Okay. I will say that I'll provide comments to Jim Fisk as well. And I'm behind on last month's comments, so they're still coming your way. Happy to provide comments on economic development, I'm afraid. I'm getting a dirty look from Chip Fest, but, it's important to me that, we're thoughtful about terms like equity, Commissioner Wright. So I'll just say that, whatever we do in terms of this document, which is not known for its brevity in any jurisdiction, but I think we're all after the same thing, which is a welcoming community, welcoming to everybody that, gives everybody equal opportunity and access to the wide range of public facilities and amenities that a city can provide. So those will be my comments. Is there anything else from the commissioners before we move on to the next bit of business? Okay, hearing none, we will move into the director's report. Director Bond.
Well, I'm going to announce two things tonight. The first of them, I'm sad to report that our former council member and Planning Commissioner Ashby has submitted her resignation to the Planning Commission. She's had some health issues come up and is not able to continue this year. And so we do have an open Planning Commission seat at this time as of this past Friday. And so with us being short a commissioner, and with as much work as we have to do over the next few meetings, it's really important to have good attendance. And please give us a heads up if you're not going to be able to attend. We want to make sure that we have a quorum and that we have participation through this comp planning process. The other announcement, I gave a presentation to the City Council on it's an updated presentation about development activity in the city, of just where projects are at and what is happening when you drive around and see construction sites. And so that presentation has been loaded onto the city's website, and you can go watch the video from the City Council meeting. I believe it was let me look at my calendar. The 13th of February, I believe, is when I gave that presentation, and lots of information on what's happening in the city on that PowerPoint. And that is all.
Thank you very much, Director Bond. Before we move into the adjournment, or we entertain a motion to adjourn, is there anything for the good of the order from any of the planning commissioners? Staff, everything good? All right. Nick, can you help me with this? Sorry, I'm shoestring it fast. Nick, do we have to entertain motions to adjourn? No, we can just adjourn.
I don't think we're that formal.
All right. You darn tootin', we're not. We're not that formal tonight. It being 6:24, there are no further business. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.
Thank you.